Let's see how to focus on the benefits and advantages for our former PMO in our discussion today. This is a quite interesting and at the same time quite complex topic, and we are going to understand it. When we try to look for information, very few organizations really know how to first identify what benefits are or how to focus on benefits in their global office environment, where to effectively showcase these benefits or say, hey, in a way that is clear and compelling, these are the benefits, and how to work on them to achieve those benefits. How do we put them on the roadmap? Hey, we need to achieve these benefits, but we have to follow up on them, right? When will it? How are we going? What are they? How are we going to identify them? How are we going to develop them? How are we going to measure them? And when are we going to start seeing that they add value? That is, as we obtain a benefit, how do we portray it and at what moment over time? Because one of the things that the global office has to do is to tell the steering committee, the comité de dirección, and the PMO sponsor that we are adding value by achieving these benefits during these times. It can be in monthly reviews with the sponsor. It can be during some very specific executive reports about the global office, our former PMO, or at the end of the year, at the end of the PMO cycle. There may be an exercise, a workshop on lessons learned from the office, not from the projects, but from the global office, covering everything we do, or a retrospective. If we were to talk about the PMO, for example, drawing conclusions and saying, well, we have done this well, we have achieved all of this, and in the next cycle, what are we going to do? That translates into continuous improvement, right? In the evolution of our former PMO. Therefore, it is an iterative cycle, so every year, because of course there are many considerations that need to be on the radar. Things do not always depend on us. There may be external factors that impact us, topics like the bug, right? The famous COVID, a topic like the supply chain. If we buy materials from outside the country and it affects us, the global economic volatility where, what we buy today for 10 turns out that the next thing will cost us 20. So, of course, how all those new added costs that are impacting us, how are we going to pass them on to our clients? If we are going to do it, or how we mitigate that impact, assuming those costs, the difference, or if we are in a process, optimization of the company, well, look, we are minimizing this impact and reducing costs. So in the end, it does not affect us. Both versus competition, or new businesses are being created where this does not affect as much. These can be digital, in such a way that more economic income is obtained, balancing the scales so that customers are not affected in the slightest, and the business is not impacted either. If we manage to achieve this with another total line of business or other services we are offering, we can balance the cost scales, which affects us on one side, but on the other side, we balance it so that at a global organizational level, at the end of the cycle, the numbers add up. It doesn't affect that much. And in such competitive and changing environments as we are experiencing today, this is fundamental. That's why when we talked in the session about the strategy for our xPMO, we were discussing, we emphasized that our strategy should be annual and often adjusted on the fly. If something happens, the famous black swans, we need to have that flexible approach to pivot as necessary. So, the goal of the masterclass to define the benefits of our former PMO is that this is a minimum foundation for our redesign. Okay? Because we are going to examine it in great detail to define what those benefits are that we can or should offer to the organization in the form of solutions. We need to have some considerations. So the person in charge of the global office, the PMO officer, or whatever name you prefer, consider, along with the rest of the team, that we need to focus on these benefits that must be delivered over time. We will work on it within the dynamics, and what result should we achieve? Well, these are very specific solutions that add value to the organization. We will solve this. And this is what we will contribute over time. In other words, we will do all this Tetris, or we will do this mapping all together.